The shaman's path is a living tradition, a way of direct experience with the unseen dimension of life. It offers a framework for reconnecting with spirit, with nature, and with community in order to restore balance and healing. It is not a religion to believe in, but an ancient discipline of consciousness, the art of entering altered states deliberately to bring back wisdom, guidance, and power for the benefit of both the individual and the collective. Shamanism appeared across the world long before organized religions among the earliest hunter-gatherer societies. It arose from a simple human need to understand illness and misfortune, to accompany birth and death, to read the signs of nature, to make sense of dreams. The very word shaman comes from the Tungus languages of Siberia, meaning one who knows or one who sees, a person able to travel between dimensions, to gather insight, and to bridge the visible and invisible worlds. The shaman, whether man or woman, is a messenger, a listener, a walker between worlds. Their task is not to perform miracles, but to restore harmony, to listen to what has been silenced, to bring back what has been forgotten. The shaman's journeys are acts of service, for healing wounds, releasing fear, reawakening vitality, and guiding others back to their own source of power. What defines the shamanic practice is not the trance itself, but its purpose. Not every altered state is shamanic. Only those entered with intention and responsibility for the good of others, for the renewal of balance. The true measure of a shaman is not how far they can travel in spirit, but how deeply they can bring healing into this world. At its heart, the shamanic path rests on one truth: everything is woven together. When a person remembers that they are part of this living web of earth, water, fire, and air, of animals and ancestors, healing begins. The shaman's way teaches us to live that remembrance, to replace disconnection with listening, struggle with relationship, and fragmentation with wholeness. In the eyes of the shaman, the world we perceive through our senses is only one layer of a much wider reality. Behind matter, behind motion, behind the body, there pulses a world of spirits, energies, and living presences. Everything in nature carries a spirit within it: the stone, the river, the bird, the blowing wind, and the living memory of the ancestors. Nothing is truly inanimate. All things participate in the great conversation of existence. To hear that conversation, a person must alter their inner state. The shaman does this through rhythmic drumming, chanting, dancing, deep breathing, or communion with sacred plants. Through these practices, he crosses the threshold between ordinary consciousness and non-ordinary reality, a place where time bends and death becomes permeable like breath. There he meets spirit guides, power animals, and ancient ancestors, learning from them how to restore balance to the physical world. Shamanic cosmology describes three interwoven realms, connected by a single axis known as the world tree: the upper world, realm of higher spirits, vision, and knowledge; the middle world, the domain of humans, animals, and plants, of life and relationships; the lower world, kingdom of the elements, the ancestors, and the deep primal wisdom of creation. The shaman's journey through these three worlds is not mere imagination. It is a pathway to profound understanding of life itself. From these realms, he brings back insight, healing, and purpose. In these dimensions, there is no separation between spirit and matter. All coexist simultaneously, each influencing the other. Shamanism reminds us that the non-ordinary reality is not elsewhere, but the root of existence itself. When we remember this, we begin to see the world again with eyes of wonder, awe, and compassion, as if for the very first time. At the heart of the shamanic way pulse timeless principles, foundations that never change, for they mirror the very structure of life itself. Each is a doorway to deeper understanding of the world and of oneself. Interconnection. Everything is woven together. A person, a tree, a river, a cloud, all are threads in one vast web of life. Every thought, every action, every emotion sends ripples into the world and returns to its source. The shaman lives in constant awareness of this connection, and from that awareness acts with humility, care, and love. Reverence for nature. Nature is not a resource to be used, but a living, intelligent being. Every mountain, stone, or creature holds ancient wisdom. The shaman does not rule over nature, but speaks with it, asks permission, offers gratitude, and listens. Through this relationship, true healing arises, not only for the body, but for the spirit and the land itself. Seeing the human as a whole. Body, emotion, thought, and spirit are not separate parts, but expressions of one single energy. True healing occurs only when all these layers come into harmony. Physical pain may stem from emotional wounds, and mental suffering may arise from the soul's forgotten voice. Direct revelation. Shamanism is not a belief in the words of others, but a path of direct experience. Anyone can, through awareness and practice, hear the inner voice where wisdom reveals itself. There is no permanent intermediary between human and divinity. The experience itself is the teacher. Balance and harmony. The essence of creation is equilibrium. Every extreme seeks correction. When the heart and the act drift apart, illness begins. When they align, health returns. The shaman sees himself as one who restores harmony between the person and themselves, between the community and the world. Personal responsibility and empowerment. There is no path without responsibility. Every thought and action is a seed sown into the living web. A human being is not a victim of circumstance, but a co-creator of reality. From this awareness arises true empowerment, the ability to choose, to heal, to create. These principles are not external commandments, but reflections of an inner, ancient truth. They invite us to live with awareness, reverence, and belonging, not as isolated beings, but as part of one great breath of life. The shamanic path sees the human being as a single woven whole, body, mind, and spirit intertwined like threads in one great tapestry. Illness, in this view, is not a mechanical flaw of the body, but a sign of deeper imbalance, a message from the soul calling for attention, repair, and reunion. When a person experiences trauma, loss, or fear, parts of their soul may drift away, a phenomenon known as soul loss. The shaman embarks on a spiritual journey to bring back these lost fragments, restoring vitality, memory, and the ability to love and feel joy. It is delicate work, the art of guiding the soul home. Shamanic healing occurs on multiple levels at once. Sometimes it means removing heavy or stagnant energies that have clung to a person. Sometimes it is the release of old emotions that have crystallized within the body. At other times, it is the reconnection with a power animal. That guiding spirit which protects, teaches, and reminds the person of their own strength. The elements, fire, water, earth, and air, all serve as instruments of healing. In fire, old patterns are burned away, anger is released, and transformation begins. In water, blocked energy is washed clean, allowing movement and renewal. Earth absorbs and grounds, air purifies and brings clarity. The shaman works with these elements not only in ritual, but in every step, every breath, every silence. Healing is not always miraculous or immediate. It can be a long inward journey, one of patience, surrender, and learning to love even the broken places. The shaman teaches that true healing is not the elimination of pain, but its transformation. When a person stops running from the wound and begins to listen to it, they discover that the pain itself carries the wisdom needed for its own healing. Thus, the shaman's path does not promise a life without suffering. It offers a way to walk through suffering until the wound itself becomes a doorway of light. In the shamanic world, no creature is without meaning. Every animal, bird, insect, or fish carries a unique wisdom, a vibration, a medicine. The shaman knows that each encounter with a living being is never random. It arrives to remind, to teach, or to warn. A power animal or spirit of the animal accompanies each person from birth, even if they are unaware of it. It may reveal itself in a dream, a meditation, or a sudden moment of deep connection with nature. It is not a pet of the soul, but an embodiment of essential energy, the courage of the wolf, the far-sighted vision of the eagle, the agility of the fox, the calm of the turtle. Through the animal, a person learns their own strengths and shadows, their unique rhythm in the web of life. When one loses connection with their power animal, they may feel weak, disoriented, or without direction. The shaman helps them return through drumming, singing, or journeying into the inner realms where the doorway to reunion opens. Such a meeting restores vitality and stability, reminding the person that they have never been alone. Alongside power animals dwell other spiritual guides, teacher spirits, ancestors, wise figures, or beings of light who accompany us through life. Each speaks in a different language. One appears as a symbol, another as a voice, another as a subtle occurrence. Our task is to learn how to listen. To the modern mind, this may sound mystical or distant, yet it is simply another way of describing what all humans experience: the sudden intuition, the recurring sign, the loving presence felt in times of struggle. Shamanism teaches us to read this language, to understand that life itself is always speaking to us. Power animals and spirit guides are not forces outside of us. They are reflections of our own essence. When we begin to listen to them, we discover that everything we were seeking has always lived within, waiting to be recognized through the eyes of the animal, through the breath of the world. At the heart of the shamanic path stands the ritual, not as an empty ceremony, but as a living space where reality itself changes form. A ritual is how a human being speaks to the universe, to give thanks, to ask, to release, to be born anew. It does not belong only to the cave or the fire circle. It can happen anywhere the heart is truly present. Fire lies at the center of most rituals. It represents transformation, the power to let go of the old and make room for the new. When a person writes their fear or pain on a small piece of paper and throws it into the flame, they are not simply burning a page. They are signaling to consciousness itself, I am ready to release. The fire takes the pain and returns light. Water carries the power of purification. Immersing in a river, walking in the rain, or bathing with awareness, these are all small rituals of cleansing, of forgiveness, of beginning again. Through water, one learns to let go and flow, to stop clinging. Earth invites grounding. Burying a stone, planting a seed, or placing one's palm upon moist soil, these are gestures that remind us where we come from. And air, drawn deeply into the lungs, brings clarity, renewal, and movement. Every breath can become a prayer. Rituals are not defined by drama or spectacle. They are a language of intention. The power lies not in the objects, but in the meaning we breathe into them. A feather can become a doorway to the unseen if carried with pure intent. A stone can become a vessel of healing if one remembers that it holds the memory of ancient earth. In a modern world of speed and distraction, ritual restores depth. It teaches us to pause, to give thanks, to act with awareness. It renews our relationship with life, reconnecting the inner and the outer, the seen and the unseen. Shamanic rituals are not an escape from reality. They are a return to it. They remind us that the greatest transformation does not happen in distant places, but within a single breath. The moment we remember that we ourselves are part of the sacredness we seek. The world has changed, but the human longing has not. People still seek connection, meaning, and healing. Only now, amidst the noise of machines, schedules, and screens, it has become harder to hear the inner voice. Here lies the renewed relevance of the shamanic way, not as an ancient relic, but as a compass for modern life. The path does not require a cave or ritual garments. It requires intention. A person can walk through a crowded street, pause for a breath, and remember, I am part of this world. That single moment of presence is an act of shamanism, a bridge between spirit and matter, between inner silence and outer noise. Modern shamanism manifests in many forms, in energy healing, guided meditation, breathwork, listening to nature, movement, or art. It appears in therapy rooms, in transpersonal psychology, in family constellations, in creative practices, and urban mindfulness. It has no single shape because it speaks to an essence, not the imitation of ancient culture, but the living connection to the same source of vitality that the ancestors knew. That essence is simple: to live in awareness, to slow down, to feel, to let the soul participate in daily life rather than be imprisoned by it. The modern shaman can be a therapist, an artist, a parent, an engineer, a teacher, anyone who brings depth, compassion, and consciousness into ordinary actions. The great challenge of our age is to preserve depth and authenticity in a world driven by speed and consumption. The shamanic way does not reject technology. It simply asks, are you still connected to yourself within it all? Do you still remember to pause, to listen, to give thanks? Modern shamanism is not a retreat from the world, but a return to it, an open path through which a person becomes present, aware, creative, and reverent toward life itself, even amid concrete, electricity, and light. At the heart of every shamanic path beats the principle of community. A human being is not an isolated unit, but a cell in a shared breath of life. Every personal wound affects the whole, and every act of healing brings vitality back to all. Thus, the shaman never works only for one person. He works for the entire circle. In ancient times, when the tribe gathered around the fire, healing was communal. There was singing, drumming, crying, dancing, silence. Everyone participated in the process. The sick one was not seen as a problem, but as a mirror reflecting the imbalance of the group. Healing belonged to everyone, for the health of one reflected the health of all. Even in the modern world, this memory still calls to us. When people gather for meditation, sharing circles, men's or women's groups, for singing, art, or simple presence, they are recreating that ancient essence. They remind each other that they belong, that they are seen, that they are not alone. The shaman teaches that the collective wound is shared by all. Disconnection, competition, alienation. When a safe space is created, where truth can be spoken, tears can fall, laughter can rise, and silence can hold. Healing begins at a depth far beyond the individual. It is the healing of the bond itself. Within community, we relearn how to give and receive, how to listen, and how to set boundaries. There, compassion is not an idea, but an experience. When one looks into another's eyes and sees themselves reflected there, the illusion of separation dissolves. Shamanic healing through community is, in truth, a return to our original nature. To create, to share, to heal together. In the circle, no one stands alone at the center. We are all the center, and we are all the edge. Healing passes from one to another like an ancient fire, warming the heart and reminding us we are all one breath. In the end, all paths turn inward. The true shaman is not the one who travels far across the earth, but the one who knows how to close his eyes and journey into his own soul. The shamanic path is, above all, a path of awareness, an exploration of the mind, the shadow, the light, the fear, and the love within us. This is not a road of escape, but of return. Return to the body, return to the present moment, return to that inner voice that was forgotten beneath the noise of the world. In this journey, a person learns to sit quietly with themselves, to ask, to listen, and to realize that the answers were never outside. Every experience, joy, pain, loss, renewal, becomes a doorway. The shaman doesn't resist them. He walks through them. He knows that every emotion carries a message, and every wound hides a teacher. Healing happens not when the pain disappears, but when the person learns to see it in a new light. Over time, it becomes clear. The spirits, the animals, the rituals, the community, they were all mirrors. Each one pointed to a single truth, presence. The realization that the inner world and the outer world are reflections of the same living mystery. When the shaman finds balance within his heart, the world around him breathes in harmony too. The inner journey never truly ends. With every breath, one can be born again. In every silence, one can remember. That is the gift of the path, to remind us that we have always been home, that we have always known, that we have always been part of the whole. All we ever needed was to remember.